Hi everyone and welcome to Sports Watch. If you like the content, please press the bell icon for further notifications and like, share and subscribe to the channel. Alexander Volkanovski has regained his featherweight title after a 5-round dominance over Diego Lopes. Volkanovski became the oldest man in the UFC to win a title after the age of 35, and at times in that fight, it looked like Prime Volk was in action. You were never going to outpoint Volk in a point fighting match with just boxing. He's just too good for that. In all these three fights with Max Holloway, he displayed that he has the great skill of moving out of the way and managing distance efficiently and not allowing the other guy to set traps for him. His lateral movement when he was in his peak was absolutely flawless, and he never allowed guys to set their feet and go for him with bigger shots. That's the mistake that Diego Lopes made in the entire fight. He was waiting for Volk, he was chasing him, he was not cutting the distance. Volk was moving from side to side, always trying to draw this shot out of Lopes and trying to counter punch him. And at 36, Volk looked fast. He was very well prepared for this fight. But Diego Lopes had the wrong game plan. Even when he hurt Volk in the second round, at the beginning of the third, he should have pressed him and tried to go for the finish. Instead, he allowed Volk to circle off. He allowed him to move around the cage and regain his wits back. No matter how good of a fighter you are, you always get hurt when you get dropped. And Lopes, it was due to his inexperience in championship fights or inexperience to fight against the big dogs. He let that moment go. He hurt Volkanovski many times during that fight, but failed to capitalize even once. And Volkanovski, at 36, still showed glimpses of his past brilliance. His distance management was very good. He hurt Diego Lopes with his straight right hand and counter left hooks. And he did mix up his wrestling as well just to confuse Lopes. This style of fighting is very good for Volkanovski. He struggles with fighters who have dynamites in their right hands or who can mix up the wrestling and grappling aspect of the fight. Someone like an Islam Khashev or someone like Movsar Evloev, who is in his division, can give Volk plenty of problems. Volkanovski comes from city kickboxing, who have some of the elite strikers in the planet. So he is going to be well versed in kickboxing and point fighting and range. The point where he will struggle is when you take the fight to him and mix up the boxing along with the wrestling. And Diego Lopes failed to do that. In his first title fight, he looked a little bit jittery. Yes, he waited far too long for Volkanovski to come to him. The urgency that he displayed in the fifth round was the one that should have been there at the beginning of the third when he had Volk hurt. By then, the fight had already slipped away from his grasp. He was the younger fighter, not Volkanovski. He should be the one to press the action. Always remember, Volkanovski was coming off back-to-back knockout losses. So he should have some of those cobwebs in his mind. And after Lopes dropped him in the second, he should have had those dreams, those flashbacks in his head. Oh no, that's going to happen to me again. So that was the point when Volkanovski would have been the most vulnerable. And Lopes missed a trick right there to press the action and get the finish. He was worried about Volk's right hand and also his grappling. Diego Lopes has great jiu-jitsu. He's great on the ground. So why worry so much about Alexander Volkanovski's wrestling? You have the jiu-jitsu, you have the ground game to fend off whatever he has to deliver on the ground. This kind of susceptible behavior led Volkanovski to win a point decision. All those guys who were fighting out of city kickboxing They are not massive knockout artists, but the thing that they do very well is to outpoint your opponent over 5 rounds and win a rather boring fight. It's like Israel Adesanya did for most of his career. He's outpoint fighters. Now why he's struggling because with his age, his movement has slowed down and fighters have figured out that the way to get to him is to bring the fight to him and punch in between combination. Just as Volk got knocked out by Ilya and then he was knocked out previously by Islam Makhachev, Diego Lopes and his team didn't follow the same game plan. And they didn't have the variety as well. You should need to mix kicks as well. Diego Lopes was throwing wild spinning kicks, but they were missing by far too much distance. And Volkanovski could see them from a mile away. So it was a good performance from Volk, but an inexperienced performance from Diego Lopes. Once again, Lopes was fast forwarded into a title fight. The rightful fighter to fight Volk could have been Movsarevloev, who is on a win streak in the division and perhaps the most avoided fighter. And now, after Volkanovski has won this fight, probably he is next in line to face him. Volkanovski had previously called him out that he will be a fighting champion and he would be looking to defend his belt against Movsarevloev. The first guy to call out Evloev is the champion himself. And finally, we might get that fight where we see a great matchup between an elite grappler and an all-round great fighter in Alexander Volkanovski. In the co-main event, Paddy Pimblett put on a career best performance to defeat Michael Chandler. It was a flawless performance from Paddy the Baddy. He wasn't even hurt once in that fight. And probably the worst fight in Michael Chandler's career. At this point of time, Chandler is nothing but a glorified loser. He has nothing to offer. He's a punching bag. He's a fighter with no game plan whatsoever. All he has is a big name. Any fighter who fights him knows that they can get past the first 2.5 to 3 minutes, Chandler has nothing to offer them. He has no game plan. He has nothing. Even his wrestling looked so weak. At one point of time, this guy was calling out Islam Makhachev, how his grappling would hold up against Makhachev. Look at the third round against Paddy Pimblett. Paddy just ragdolled him, had his way with him. Chandler had no answer. He is not a great wrestler, as many have put forward the idea before. He got taken down by Charles and dominated on the ground. He got finished by Dustin Poirier on the ground. And now Paddy the Baddy just mauled him from beginning to end. There was never a point in the fight where Michael Chandler looked like he was about to win. All that good talk on the microphone means nothing if you can't perform when it matters. It was a shocking performance from Chandler. Henry Hooft must be wondering what else does he have to do to make Michael Chandler win a fight. He doesn't follow any game plan. In fact, he doesn't have any game plan. And Paddy looked beautiful tonight. His leg kicks were on point. He didn't rush in. He waited for Chandler to come to him. Chandler is always swinging with wild shots, and Paddy just waited to counter. Even when Chandler took him down, Paddy didn't panic. He knew that he can get Chandler off his back pretty easily. And he's big for the division. Paddy Pimblett is a big lightweight. And in the third round, he hurt Michael Chandler with a flying knee and broke his face. Chandler looked very poor in that fight. Even in his last fight with Charles Oliveira, he looked bad. But this performance means he should be cut from the UFC. It's not worth the UFC to continuously let him fight in main event pay-per-view matches. He should not be the co-main event by any stretch of imagination. And he should not be in the top 10 as well. After this defeat, he should be in the top It should be outside the top 15, not even in the top 15. Such a poor performance from Michael Chandler. And Paddy Pimblett deserves to fight someone in the higher rankings right now. He called out Justin Gaethje. He called out Dustin Poirier. He even called out Charles Oliveira, the best submission artist in the UFC. But Paddy doesn't think so. He wants to test himself against Charles Oliveira. That might not take place, but it's a good call out. And the next fight, he will fight someone probably in the top 5. And by the looks of it, a fight with Ilia Topuria might finally materialize in some point of time in the future. Another Bellator fighter who got a rude awakening was Patricio Pitbull. It was a rough night for him as Yair Rodriguez put on absolute clinic to maul Patricio Pitbull from start to finish. It was a bad night for Bellator guys. Pitbull should have never come into the company at such a late point of time in his career. At this point of time, he and Chandler are both punching bags. He has nothing to offer than just boxing, and Yair Rodriguez, with his variety of kicks and strikes, had Pitbull hurt plenty of times. It was toughness that prevented Pitbull from getting finished in the third, but never in that fight did Patricio Pitbull look like he hurt Yair Rodriguez. He couldn't find his range, not even once. Yair was controlling the range with his kicks and strikes. He hurt him multiple times, especially with that straight 1-2 which dropped him in the third. All that talk about Patricio Pitbull being the best featherweight in the world kind of disappeared after a shocking performance like that. The UFC are the big leagues, and the Bellator fighters who are coming into these organizations after spending majority of their careers at Bellator should think twice before coming here, because it might not end too well for them. If it's just about the money, then it's all right. But their performances in the octagon are not holding good. Yair Rodriguez gets back into the win column after a very dominant victory. He was promised a title shot, as he says, by the UFC, but after Volkanovski's win, it's highly debatable that he ever gets one, because the last time that both of them fought, Volk absolutely massacred him. The fight to make would be Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopes. That would be a massive fight. And the kind of bad blood that already exists between the two, it would be the perfect fight for the fans as well. John Silver submitted Bryce Mitchell in the second round. Again, a dominant victory for Silver. That's 5 consecutive finishes in a row. And Bryce Mitchell, despite all that talk, couldn't back it up when it mattered. John Silver looks like a complete fighter. And Bryce Mitchell had nothing to offer to him. He got knocked down in the first round. When he went for a takedown, Silva guillotined him. And then, finally in the second, he submitted him. Bryce Mitchell, after spending all those hours talking shit to everyone online and to John Silva himself, got submitted. That's the worst way to get defeated. Silva, after a performance like that, should find himself worthy of fighting someone in the top 7 or top 8 maybe. A fight with himself and Yair Rodriguez would be fireworks. A fight with him and someone like Diego Lopes also will be devastating. He has plenty of options right now, and he has all the momentum in his side. UFC 314 was a great night of fights, most of them being one-sided. Even Dominic Reyes knocked out Krylov, And he is too on a 3-fight win streak now. Reyes, who had suffered loss after loss since he lost a controversial fight against John Jones, has somehow managed to bounce back. And tonight, it was a great knockout. So Dominic Reyes would also be looking to bounce back in the light heavyweight division after a performance like that. Let me know in the comment section what you feel. And if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.